Hello, my name's Steve Sutcliffe and this is Tyre Seeker, the best place to go to if you want totally unbiased opinions about tyres. In this test, we'll be comparing the world's best all-season tyres, so let's get down to business.
From Bridgestone, we're testing the A005 Weather Control Evo. From Continental, we have the All-Season Contact. From Goodyear, we're assessing the Vector 4-Season G3. From Michelin, we've got the CrossClimate 2. And from Pirelli, we're testing the Cinturato All-Season SF2. As with all our tests, we bought our tyres from an independent retailer to ensure complete neutrality. And in this case, the size is a 245/45/18, usable on anything from an SUV to a family saloon, including our BMW 530D test car. We put our all-season tyres through all kinds of tests, but our main focus, as ever, was on real-world feel and durability, not on raw data. So Bridgestone on the wet handling track first. Let's get going.
These Bridgestones, I was so impressed with them on the snow when we went up to Sweden. But really, this is where you want an all-season to do the business for you. And I have to say that this Bridgestone all-season is sorting this wet handling track out a treat. It isn't quite the quickest tyre against the stopwatch, but kind of who cares? They're all kind of close enough. But what the Bridgestone has is loads and loads of feel. So I've got complete confidence. Steering, brakes, through the seat even. Can you get feel through the seat from tyres? Answer, yes you can, from these Bridgestones particularly. It's kind of got this lovely breakaway characteristic as well. And you just get this feeling that the whole car moves gradually all of a piece. There are no shocks, there are no spikes. Top showing from the Bridgestone.
So before I try the Continental on the wet track, here's a bit more about our sponsor.
At etyres.co.uk, they sell tyres. Lots and lots of tyres. They don't care who wins our group tests though, because they sell all kinds of tyres, but they do sell them at the best prices you'll find anywhere on the internet. So do yourself a favour if you fancy buying any of the tyres we feature in this test. Click on etyres.co.uk because you won't find better prices anywhere else on the internet. Right, back to the comparison test.
Wet track once again, this time with the Continental fitted.
It's very good. I have to say it's very, very good indeed. It's just got grip in all departments and it's really good under brakes. As a result, it's set a slightly quicker lap time than the Bridgestone. Not by much. I suspect it will be the quickest tyre here. The Michelin might go a little bit quicker, but we'll find out. Lots of bite at the front, good traction at the back. Real sort of granite stability under brakes. Loads of grip, ultimate outright grip mid-corner.
So then I switched to the Goodyear.
I like this Goodyear. It's great mid-corner like this. It's a lot better than it was in the snow, that's for sure. But here on this track, it's pretty good. I don't think it's just as good as the Bridgestone or the Continental or the Michelin or the Pirelli really, but it doesn't kind of matter that it's at the bottom of the pile. It's actually performing really well. Decent grip, good breakaway characteristics, good bite at the front end as well. I'm not getting kind of wash out understeer anywhere. And again, it's just got lots of nice feel from both ends and to me, really good traction.
Same again, but now on the Michelin CrossClimate 2.
Right, here's a turn up for the books. I really wasn't expecting this. The Michelin isn't that great on this wet handling track. I mean, it just literally is not generating as much grip. Either steady state in the middle of a corner, under brakes, on turning, under traction. It's still astonishing in isolation how much grip it will give this big 530D around this wet, not very grippy handling track, but relative to the other tyres, it's not quite there. I'm a bit gobsmacked by that. I don't know why I'm smiling. I was just totally expecting the Michelin to be brilliant. It's merely very good.
And so finally, I tried the Pirelli.
Right, I've got to be honest, I thought the Pirelli was going to be much better than this around this track. It's way off the pace compared with the Bridgestone, compared with the Goodyear, definitely compared with the Continental, even compared with the Michelin. The worst thing it does is in steady state cornering. Just the more throttle you give it, the more it runs out of grip. Just understeering, understeering, understeering. And there's no bite at the front. It's weird. And then you get into this all four wheels drift sensation where it just feels like there's no grip at all. It feels like you've gone onto wet grass. And there's not as much bite or stability under brakes. Not a great showing from the Pirelli.
The top 3 tyres from Continental, Bridgestone and Goodyear were all very good indeed in the wet, across all our disciplines, with the Conti getting the outright nod because of its pure speed, although the Bridgestone was great for feel and predictability, which is arguably even more important than pure pace. Either way, we were a bit surprised and maybe a little bit disappointed by the Michelin and Pirelli in the wet, with the Pirelli being well removed from the sharp end especially. But maybe the CrossClimate 2 and the Cinturato All Season could make up for this on the dry track. Well, that's where we headed next, with the Bridgestone once again first up.
The Bridgestone behaves really pretty well. It hasn't got the sharpness or the bite or the turn-in response of a proper summer tyre, but I tell you what, it's not that far off, you know. I thought there'd be armfuls of understeer, no traction, no bite under brakes, no nothing really, but it's good enough. It's perfectly safe. You just can't carry as much speed into corners as you can with the summer tyre on.
Okay, same again, but this time on the Continentals.
The Continental All Season on the dry is perfectly okay. Again, it's not as sharp or crisp as the Bridgestone All Season, but it's good enough. Makes its way around the track perfectly competently. It does feel like a compromise though, and given how relatively ungood the Continental was around the wet track, that's a little bit disappointing. But no, it's perfectly okay on the dry. It really is.
And now the Goodyears.
To be honest, the Goodyear is probably the best of the group on this dry handling track. I don't know just how relevant that is, because the gap between this and the Bridgestone it's largely subjective. I mean, the lap times are very, very similar, and you can lap consistently from one lap to the next and they're not going off. The first lap you do, you think, oh my goodness, these things are going to overheat, tragically, but they don't. So it's not bad, and it also happens to be 35 degrees outside as well. No, the Goodyear is pretty decent on the dry track for an all-season tyre.
So then I swapped to the Michelins.
Right, I definitely expected a bit more from the Michelin, given how uncompetitive it was relatively on the wet handling track. It's all right, but it does feel a bit baggy when you turn in. There's no real bite at all to the front end. They squeal a fair bit to the Michelin All Seasons. And under brakes, you really do need to give yourself that little bit of extra room. I'm not thoroughly impressed with the Michelin All Season on this dry track.
And finally, the Pirelli. Could it make up the lost ground?
You never really want to give a lemon award to anyone or anything, but I'm afraid the Pirelli around this dry track ain't great. Two and a bit seconds behind the Goodyear and the Bridgestone. You could argue that handling lap times really aren't what all-season tyres are built for, but it's a long way off the pace is the Pirelli. It just feels soft and kind of squidgy. It's allowing all sorts of movement that just isn't there on the Goodyears or the Bridgestones. Or the Continentals. This is not the Pirelli's natural hunting ground.
So there you go. The Pirelli really did struggle to compete in the dry, as much as it did in the wet. Same thing for the Michelin to a lesser extent, while the Goodyear was less competitive in the dry than it was in the wet, which left the Bridgestone and Continental to fight it out at the top. And not just on the dry track, but for overall honours as well. Because to be honest, these tyres were in a slightly different league from the other 3 overall, with the Continental coming out top and the Bridgestone a highly competitive second. It's almost the complete opposite to what we discovered when we tested these exact same tyres in the snow. Because then the Pirelli was excellent, the Michelin was unbeatable, and the Bridgestone competed well without winning any of the tests. But purely in summer conditions, as in this test, the Continental was king, the Bridgestone was queen, and to be honest, the rest of them struggled to stay in the game.
Cheers for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this comparison test. And remember, do check out etyres.co.uk because you won't find better prices for tyres anywhere on the internet. Stay safe and see you next time.